Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, your go-to source for insights, inspiration, and stories from the world of small businesses in Canada. I'm your host, Shiraz Sadiq. And today, we have a very special guest with us, Christopher Doyle, the Managing Director of Nextdoor Canada. Nextdoor is a community-driven neighborhood network on a mission to build trusted connections, foster kindness, and facilitate the exchange of valuable information, goods, and services among neighbors. With Christopher's extensive experience in community engagement, partnership deals, and brand strategy, he leads the Canadian team and operations, driving Nextdoor's growth marketing to support small businesses across the nation. Hey, Chris, thanks for being here with us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, here's the thing. Nextdoor, what do you guys do? I have a pretty good understanding, but for our audience's benefit, can you describe what is it that Nextdoor does?
Yeah, for sure. So Nextdoor really is your local neighborhood network. So we're all about connecting you to your neighborhood and the neighborhoods that matter to you, depending on where you live and where you work, right? And so really it's about three things for us. It's about giving and getting help. So you'll find on the platform, there's actually a help map there that actually connects local resources to people in the neighborhood that can help nearby, which is awesome and needed these days. Also, it's really at its core about getting trusted information. So this is where you've built up a network of local businesses in your neighborhood and neighbors as well that have come on to our platform verified, and you're giving and getting and receiving information that way. And then third, it's about building these real world connections. So this is kind of what underpins our whole mission, especially here in Canada, is that we really want people to have this in real life connection and this human connection, because we know that loneliness and isolation has become such an issue, especially kind of coming out of the pandemic. So that's something we really believe in.
So this is more than simply finding your local mechanic.
That's right.
There's that and
exactly.
So we're talking about Google with a heart.
Yeah.
Right? Where you can search, you can find what you need for your home, for your family, for whatever it is that you need by getting in here. But you're extending this to the actual human element here and saying, hey, you can build community through here, because there might be, for example, my wife recently picked up knitting.
Yeah.
Never has she ever had a needle in her hand. Other than to poke me once in a while, but that's a different story. And she's now connecting with other people that are into knitting. Talk to me about how you can build community, as you mentioned.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's depending on how you come to the platform, it's about the utility or the community. Sometimes I'm coming there for the utility, like you mentioned, to find a service person nearby that's recommended by my neighbors, and I stick around for the community. Sometimes I've joined because of the community, and it's connecting people who have the same interests of you, but they're nearby and they're local. So it runs a gamut of hundreds of interests, like you mentioned, knitting to walking to there's faith-based groups. There's sports and activities that people love to do, and they need people to do it with. There's also been a movement across the country where people are using Nextdoor to find someone to go for a walk with, just to stay safe at night if they're in a city, or if they just want companionship. And I think that's where technology has really connected us more than ever before, but yet people are still feeling isolated. And it's those local ties that bind that we really want to try and connect, as well as the utility that you mentioned.
Okay, so you're talking about a technology that eliminates almost technology, right? And so now you're using this to actually connect with other human touch and contact.
Yeah, that's right. We like to say, it's less about the algorithm on Nextdoor, like you might see at other platforms.
Okay.
We're just as fine with you putting down your phone and meeting your neighbor and getting together in person to have this type of conversation and to have that connection, because we know that it's so, so important.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in conversation with Chris Doyle from Nextdoor. Now, fascinating, the concept of going there for utility and community. Because it's easy to build I shouldn't say easy, but it's being done. Where and what, but the who and the why is present, and it becomes meaningful.
Yeah, that's right. I think one of the key differentiators for Nextdoor too is that we are real. So we're about real people at real addresses. So we've done a lot of work on the back end. So when people join, that we make sure that we're confirming their identity and their address. They're also asked to use their real name on the platform.
Okay.
We actually believe that, to your point, it creates a greater bond of trust. So it's like when I show up at a neighborhood event in my neighborhood, I'm Christopher, that lives in Whitby with my family and my 4 kids. I'm not anonymous, I'm representing myself in the community. And we actually think that that helps build human connection, but it also helps to build trust and helps to build, hopefully, a more kinder society in the end, because it's all about this social capital that you build in your neighborhood. If that makes sense.
It's really interesting. I wasn't going to sidestep it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't dance around questions, but there is that security element, right? Like if I get on this platform, what if somebody represents themselves as someone they're not? So what you're saying is you have those types of safeguards in place to say, hey, real name.
Yeah, that's right.
So if on the platform, can I set up a meetup?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So there's all these tools that are really built for community building. And you'll also find that the people that are on Nextdoor, they really care deeply about their community. Like they love their community. That's actually one of the reasons local businesses love Nextdoor, because these are people that are really, really engaged. Actually, we did some data, we did some polling of our neighbors, and 56% of our neighbors across Canada said they're more willing now to support a local business kind of coming out of the pandemic. So like they deeply care about the community. Local businesses are strong fabric or part of the backbone of our local communities. So there are all these tools on Nextdoor to be able to do that. One of them is an events tool. We have a tool where you can just set up a local community event, and we see hundreds of different types of them. Again, kind of just same as the interests, but you're able to set up an event, and you're able to set up groups as well around these interests and invite people. And there's all these tools to invite people in your local community. So the thing is that we're trying to make it easy for people, and it's all built around proximity too. It's all about the neighbors that you live with each and every day, and how we can make it easier for you to connect there.
So let's go back to some significant events that happen throughout the calendar, right? So if we started off at the end, you got Christmas.
Yep.
And then you got New Year's. And hey, I want to have some people over for Christmas. Or there's this event happening at this church and they're doing this. And then at New Year's, they're doing some event over here. And then Valentine's Day. If I were to fast forward September, right? We all know it's the official end of the exhibition in the GTA, of course, in Ontario. I know this is across the country. We're not biased towards Ontario alone, but that tends to end. But it's the end, but it's the beginning of the school season.
Yes.
Can you describe how this platform could potentially play a role in what back to school then means?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And so what we've seen is really quite interesting, that like cost of living is so on top of people's minds, right? Inflation is a big issue for families. It's a big issue for everyone, but families are really feeling the pinch. And so we've been getting data at Nextdoor and seeing how neighbors are acting on the platform around this when back to school comes around. And really what we found is that they're spending less on back to school supplies than they did in previous years. And they're turning to the secondhand market for help. So, and the 3 top things we've noticed are around clothes. Like everyone wants that back to school outfit for the first week and first month, and, first little bit. Shoes as well. And then just basic supplies, whether that's backpacks or pencil cases and such. And we've actually seen that neighbors in droves are turning now to the secondhand market to try and save money. And this is where Nextdoor can become really important, because we have a tool on our platform called For Sale and Free. And what's different about that is that it's all built again around proximity. So you're not going to be driving an hour to go and pick something up if it fits what you're looking for. It's going to be people in your neighborhood. And it could be a free item, but it could also just be a heavily discounted item. And I know I've seen it in my neighborhood firsthand. Like,
so now, Chris, this is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm hearing we got a Facebook built into the platform. We got a Google search engine built into the platform. We got just a world. This could be a dating app eventually. Right? Like there's so many ways in which I can engage, but it takes it out of a cyberspace and gives you a real space in which to interact through a commonality, affinity. You mentioned a few of the ones earlier.
Yeah.
What are the typical meetup groups that are forming that you've been able to empower and enable?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really, and like I'm just using my neighborhood as an example. Like it's honestly like hundreds of interest groups. there are a lot around activity and, whether that's running, walking.
Okay.
There's a golf group. There's one for
Okay.
soccer parents in my neighborhood. There are also cultural groups where actually Nextdoor has become a really strong word of mouth app for new Canadians. And you see new Canadians and it makes total sense. It's like, how do I enroll my child in school? Like, is there a doctor accepting new patients, and they're getting trusted recommendations from their neighbors? Like when you come to a new country, when you come to a new area, a new neighborhood, your neighbors are there to help support. How else would you find out a lot of these things, right? So that's where the trusted information part comes in. So we see a lot of cultural groups there, but a lot of like interest groups as well around, gardening. Gardening is a huge interest of people on Nextdoor. I've learned a lot about gardening because I don't have a green thumb. So it's like a lot of good tips there, but people are, again, organizing themselves around that. It's even just like, people are also looking for friends. We had a post in my neighborhood saying, I'm looking to make some friends. And so again, I think common interests and local, like the proximity really matters, right? Because I want to have fun with people near me, basically.
I'm hearing you loud and clear. Yeah. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're in conversation with Christopher Doyle of Nextdoor, who's created this platform for you to actually step out your front door, look to the left, maybe look to the right, and you might recognize somebody because you saw them online. Why not walk out, shake a hand, and go for a walk? But wait, there's so much more. But I got to ask, why? What was it? What was the driving force behind this? Like, hey, you know what? I got to start this. I really got to do it. And now is the time.
Well, yeah, the founders of Nextdoor actually had this real sense that as technology was improving and we were connecting around the world globally, that we really didn't know our neighbors, and that they wanted to solve that problem. And so we launched in Canada in 2019. And, we've seen that the connections kind of that bind us locally have really eroded, right? And these are kind of like the connections that we need that are really on the front lines when we face a crisis. Like, you look at what we just went through with the pandemic, and as that rolled out, people were looking to their neighbors to find out vital information about what was happening in their neighborhood,
right? Like
at the postal code level.
Right.
You could get information elsewhere about what was happening maybe in the province or nationally,
sure,
but it's really like the neighbors that are on the front lines of it. And we've seen this like with any number of different crises or natural disasters. Like it's really like the neighbors that are on the front lines to help. And so that was really the whole premise to create Nextdoor, was just a different type of technology, like tech for good, where you're actually impacting people's lives in a positive way and bringing people together. And we know that there's all kinds of challenges with that, right? As people use technology for all different kinds of things. So we've done our best to really just make sure that it's grounded in the mission and then the purpose, and that you're connecting people to around this local graph. And I think that's the key point, is that it's a graph. Like if you look at other platforms, built around a friend graph, or LinkedIn that's built around like your work graph, people you've worked with, maybe others are built around interests. Nextdoor is really built around geography and proximity. It's like, this is the community that I live in, and I need to get to know people around it. I need to be connected. And it's also just a great way to help too.
And so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been in conversation with Christopher Doyle of Nextdoor. As we wrap up, and again, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about coming out and hanging out and having this conversation, but the platform. You really believe that this is meaningful. You really believe that this could impact somebody's life in a worthwhile way, to just lift their cheekbones a little bit, to cause them to smile, greater engagement in their community itself, and make a difference one neighborhood at a time.
It's so true. We really do. Like we like to say, like we talk the talk, but walk the walk too. And, we did some research. It wasn't just our research, but third-party research that we partnered on. And it actually showed that just knowing as few as 6 neighbors can help alleviate all these mental health pressures related to loneliness, isolation. And it was when we dove into it, it's like small acts like waving at your neighbor in the driveway. Like just that form of connection makes you feel like you belong, and we're recognizing each other as humans, like
belonging. That's huge.
Yeah, belonging.
And when you say that, I'm like going to my head. You said 6, right? I'm like, okay, 1, 2. And I'm literally in my head trying to count. Wait. I probably need to do a better job. Now, I'm kind of friendly. I'm out there. I'm the guy waving. Hey, what's going on? Can I help you shovel snow? I do that. But how many of them do I really know?
Yeah.
And I do it at work.
Yeah. That's
do
right.
I do that right in the neighborhood that I live in? And there's certainly there's always an opportunity to bring some joy and spread it a little bit. Now, what's next? What's ahead? Where do you see Nextdoor moving into?
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit where you talked about kind of like the breadth and depth of Nextdoor, and really realize that it's an essential app. And if you don't have it, we encourage you to go download the app or go to nextdoor.ca to check it out and get connected. But it is really this essential daily app. But you mentioned too, like the seasonal element to it, like coming up for October, for example, we have a treat map for Halloween to kind of give you kind of the sense of like what's happening on Nextdoor. It's like your neighbors are posting if they're going to be doing a great, Halloween celebration or decorations and kind of or haunted house. Also, we partnered last year with Food Allergy Canada so that neighbors could let other neighbors and families know if they were going to be giving out allergy-free treats. And this has been a huge thing. So many kids now suffering from some really serious allergies. And so it's like, we're allowing you to then plan your Halloween night, visit some of the best houses, go to the houses that are giving allergy-free treats. So that's coming up for Halloween. And then we know sort of when we get into Black Friday for small businesses, just everything that our platform can do for small and local businesses is pretty powerful too, because they've told us that Nextdoor gets them the best results because it's real people, it's trusted recommendations and people who really care about their community. So they're really invested in making sure that small businesses thrive. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Nextdoor Canada, best results, best candy, apparently, because they'll put you on the map, right? And you can be known in Nextdoor as the house that hands out the best candy, and definitely greater community. Chris, once again, thanks for coming in and investing in our audience in a worthwhile way. Really appreciate what you do, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, before we sign off, we'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our partners who support making this podcast possible. A big thank you to our exclusive banking partner, RBC, for their unwavering support for Canadian small businesses. We want to thank our exclusive shipping partner, UPS, for helping businesses connect with their customers near and far. And last but not least, a shout out to our exclusive accounting software partner, Xero, for simplifying financial management for small businesses across Canada. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And if you have a topic or a guest you'd like to see on the show, feel free to reach out. My name is Shiraz Sadiq, and until next time, keep thriving, Canada.